Okay, so we'll go ahead and get rolling, and then if anybody else pops in as we get going, that's fine. We'll be here a little bit, chatting with Miss Carlin here. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. My name's Ariane. I'm one of the naturalists here at the Nature Station. I am a lifetime member of Girl Scouts. I started as a daisy, went all the way through, got my gold award and all that fun stuff, and never left it. And now I get to help run Girl Scout Day, so everything comes full circle. I was even a Girl Scout counselor for a little while. And so I am super stoked to introduce Miss Carlin here. Carlin is also a former Girl Scout, and I'll let her tell that story a little later. And she is our artist that we are going to be interviewing today. And when I say we, I mean you girls. So be thinking of questions you want to ask her if you haven't already in your workbooks. Carlin does printmaking, and she's going to tell us a little bit about it, kind of how she does it, and even tell us how we can do it at home. So a couple housekeeping instructional things before we get started. If you're not familiar with Zoom like this, now I know some of you kids probably are more familiar with Zoom than I am. If you move, this is the webinar version of Zoom. So if you move your mouse around, you'll see the buttons pop up at the bottom of the screen, and there's two different options. You've got the chat, which some of you have already found. That's going to be the easiest way to talk to us. If you have a question, if you want to comment on something, that's a great way to chat with us. Or you can also use the Q&A. If you look over to the left, there's a button that says Q&A, and it's got two little chat bubbles. And if you click on that, if you have a question for Carlin, you can actually type your question in there, and we will get it there as well. So you can do either or. You can use the chat or the questions. I will be paying attention to both of them. I'm really excited to have Carlin here. We've had a lot of fun chatting about art and stuff, and we're hoping you guys are having fun too. And at this point, I'm going to pass it on to Carlin. I'm going to turn my video off. That way you guys don't have to process my video feed. And Carlin, would you like to tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you for the introduction, Ariane, and welcome everyone. I'm so glad you all are here with me this afternoon on such a beautiful spring day. It's so warm and sunny out, and I'm just so honored you chose to spend some of your afternoon with me. So thank you all for being here. So as Ariane said, I'm a former Girl Scout. I started as a daisy and was a brownie, a junior, and a cadet, and it changed my life. I wouldn't be where I am without Girl Scouts. So I hope you all continue to stick with it. And I'm going to show you all some pictures because I'm sure you'd rather look at pictures than just me talking on the screen. So as I'm talking, please feel free to ask questions in the chat and I will answer them. It's my understanding you all need to ask me a few questions to get your badge. So feel free to put it in the chat. Ariane and I will not bite. We're very friendly and we want to help you get your badge. So if you have anything at all, just put it in the chat. And I see I already have one. So I have a question from an anonymous attendee. So if you want to be anonymous and not have your name, that's fine too. But the question is, what inspires you, flowers or fruit or etc.? So I'm going to answer that in my slideshow that I'm going to start right now. So we'll get to that question. So thank you for asking that. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So I hope you all can see my screen here. And I already have another question from Caitlin. You guys are doing a great job asking questions. And Caitlin's question was what my favorite technique is. And I'm going to talk about that in the slideshow as well. But I'll cut to the chase and tell you that I love what's called printmaking. So printmaking is where you take it's kind of like a big stamp. So I carved out this elephant here with a tool called a linoleum cutter to make a stamp that I put ink onto and I put onto the paper and I can make lots of different prints on it. So that's what I'm going to be talking about with you all today. But let's take it back first, all the way back to the early 90s. That's when I first became a Daisy Scout. And here's a picture of me that I found when I was moving. Let me get to the next slide. And it's me as a junior scout. So I'm so excited that there's some junior scouts on here. That's me in the middle. And I found this old newspaper article of me. Our scout troop was considered a golden honor troop for all the badges that we earned in a short amount of time. So I don't know if you guys have done this with your trips, but we went camping and horseback riding. We went cave exploring. We cooked pancakes over a coffee can burner. We did so many cool things. And we also made art. So all those experiences when I was your age really influenced me the rest of my life to pursue work as an artist and also work in the outdoors. So my time as a Girl Scout inspired me through the rest of my life. When I was in high school, I was a camp counselor, and I wanted to be a counselor because of all my summers that I spent at Girl Scout camp. I got to work with wildlife. Here I am with a trumpeter swan out west, and I became a park ranger at the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and then in Texas. And now I work at the Forest Service. So I work with Ariane at Land Between the Lakes. And none of that would have been possible without Girl Scouts. So I'm just so excited to speak with you all today about my art. So I think, Caitlin, I had another question about what inspires me. And and I have another question from Caitlin, since it's on the topic of Girl Scouts. What state was I a Girl Scout in? My dad is in the Army, so we have moved a lot since I was a daisy. So that's a great question, Caitlin. I've moved a lot too, but when I was a Girl Scout, I was in Indiana. So I was only about 2.5 hours away from Land Between the Lakes, so around this area. So that's a great question, Caitlin. I'm sure when you've moved around, you've got to see lots of different parts of the country and got to see different, places to live and experiences. And I think that's important. That builds character, and you get to see lots of cool things. Like I moved to Texas, so I was right by the Gulf of Mexico. So you can see in this picture, that's a shipwreck with pelicans on it. So I took that picture, and I got to see a ghost crab. And then those little creatures in the lower left corner are called blue dragons. So I actually got to see dragons in the wild. They're really sea slugs, but they washed ashore at Padre Island National Seashore, where I was a park ranger. And then I worked in the Smokies, and I saw this beautiful rainbow, and the trees looked like, a pot of gold. They were all golden colors from the fall. So all of these experiences being outdoors in nature really influenced me. And that goes back to the individual, I think they were anonymous. They asked the question, what inspires me? And being outside, seeing all the wildlife, the flowers, all the nature, it's just what inspires me. There's so many textures and colors, and nature's everywhere if you look for it. So there's no shortage of inspiration wherever you go. So, and I continue to be inspired to this day where I work. So I work, like I said, at Land Between the Lakes, and I love to go canoeing. So I don't know if any of you girls like to go canoeing or kayaking, or maybe you've been on a boat. That's how I like to see Land Between the Lakes, and that's where I really get inspired by being out in nature. So we love to go kayaking. I like to take my dog. That's our husky down there. I took her hiking, and she's wearing yellow, during hunting season. You got to be safe. But every time I go out into nature, I get more ideas for more artwork that I want to do. So I got some chats here. I'm going to check in. Let's see what the chat. Cave exploring. Oh, cute dog. Thank you. Yes, cave exploring. So we are so lucky here in Kentucky. We are very close to Mammoth Cave National Park, which is, it's like the longest cave system in the world. So if you can make a trip out there, I highly recommend it. So we went to all kinds of caves when I was a Girl Scout, and there's a lot in this region. So I highly encourage you to go to Mammoth Cave National Park if you can. Okay, so I had another question that I'm going to get to. Printmaking. So why printmaking? This is my preferred art. So some of you might like drawing. Some of you like, maybe like paint or ink and getting all messy. Some of you might like, working with their hands, like, carving. Printmaking is all of those things together. So that's why I love it. You get to draw, you get to carve, and you get to play with ink and get all messy. And when you make your stamp, your block that you carve out, you put ink on it and you can make lots of prints from one stamp. I call it a stamp, but it's really called a block. So you can make an original art piece over and over and over from one carving. So I'm going to show you all how I do this. So at the end of my presentation, I'm going to show you guys how you can do this at home. And you probably have all the stuff at home to get started right now. But these are the tools that I use. So we have linoleum, that's that gray stuff, and I have a piece of it over here. So this is linoleum. It has burlap on the back, and it's really kind of soft. It's made up of a lot of different things, linseed oil and other things. But you use this tool, I don't know if you can see that, this sharp tool to carve pictures into it. So what I like to do is I like to draw my design on here with a pencil, then trace it in a Sharpie, and then I take this instrument, this cutter, and I cut out all the stuff that I don't want to be printed. You have to be very careful because this can cut you. It's very sharp, and I have cut myself before, and it's not fun, and it does hurt. So whenever you're using this tool, you want to cut away from you and not toward your fingers. So you need linoleum, you need a pencil, you need the linoleum cutter, you need some ink, and I have some ink here. This ink you can also print on fabric, so you can make t-shirts or towels and all kinds of things with the fabric ink. Then you need something called a brayer, and this is the brayer here. So maybe you've helped your parents paint and you've used a roller paintbrush. It's kind of like the same thing. You use a brayer to spread the ink over your linoleum. So you would spread the ink on, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. And then you need a wooden spoon. This is surprising probably to you, but you need this to press your linoleum stamp onto the paper, and I'm going to show you how to use the spoon in a little bit as well. And then, of course, paper. So I see we have another question. How many years have you been using this technique? That's a wonderful question, Caitlin. I first started linoleum printing back in high school, which I need to do the math and think about how far back that's been now. Probably about 18 years ago or so, maybe 20 years ago, I've been doing this. And then in college, I took classes just on printmaking. So you can do carvings in linoleum or wood or even styrofoam. So I'm going to teach you later how you can make your own print by carving into styrofoam. So I've been doing it about 20 years or so, and I just really got hooked with it, and it's my favorite type of art to do. So great questions, keep them coming. I'm going to show you the steps that you have to take to do a linoleum carving. So step one is sketch. So this is a sketch I did in one of my sketchbooks. I sketched it with a permanent marker, and I studied fish in college. So though I didn't get a degree in art, I took art classes, and I got my degrees in animal science. So you don't have to go to college and study art to be an artist. You can still be an artist in your own time and make it a hobby, which is what I do. And I see we have some chats, so let me check those out. How exciting, I've never tried this. Oh, I love it. Thank you for the comments. So step one, you sketch. So it can be anything you want. My inspiration is animals, and that's why I love the nature station, because there's lots of inspiration there, so many animals to see. So this is my fish. And then I don't know if any of you have ever seen this animal before on this next page. Does anyone know what that is? It's not an alien. It looks like an alien, but if you know what that is, oops. Well, we know what that one is, but if you have any idea about what that is, you can put it in the chat. Anyone know? Oh, we got a chat here. My chat is slow, so I'm sorry. Oh, wait, see, octopus, Alice? Yeah, you're on track. So this is called a cuttlefish, and it's related to an octopus. They're both mollusks. So you're very close there. It does look a lot like an octopus. So good job, but it's called a cuttlefish. And I love that you said octopus because that is my favorite animal of all time. So that's pretty cool. But I was at an aquarium a few years ago and I just fell in love with the cuttlefish there. I've never seen one out in the wild, but I just think they're so cool. They look like aliens. So I wanted to do a carving of them because they have so many stripes and dots and colors and textures that it would be fun to do a print of. And then I also did, if I can get to the next slide, this guy. Do you guys know what kind of bird we have here? We have them all around Land Between the Lakes and in Kentucky and Tennessee. Does anyone know what kind of bird that is? They like to be kind of loud in the trees when they're feeding. You might hear them hammering their heads and their beaks into the trees. Anyone? This is my favorite bird. Let's see. So this is a woodpecker, and it's our largest woodpecker that we have here, the pileated woodpecker. So this is a sketching of it. So we have the daddy woodpecker on the left, and he is feeding the two babies in the tree there. So this is a sketch that I did, and the gray part is that linoleum block there. So it all starts out with a sketch. All right, so the next step is carving, and this is my favorite part. You get to take the little linoleum cutter and carve out all the areas that you don't want to have ink on. So the areas that you want it to stay white, or the areas that you want to be white, you carve out, and the areas you want to stay black or the color of your ink, you leave. So you kind of have to plan out in advance what you want it to look like. And here's some of the steps of my process. So you all saw the cuttlefish earlier, the creature that looked like an octopus. This is what it looks like when the plate is being carved. And you can see some of the areas in the lower left corner that I haven't carved out yet. And then on the right side is it fully finished. So you can see all the texture marks in there. Those were all made with this little tool. And there's different size tips you can use. So this is a bigger tip. You can take more out at a time when you're carving. Again, it's super sharp. Or you can have a smaller tip like this one to do little details. So that's the cuttlefish. And here is the elephant that I did. And you've probably heard elephants never forget. Well, this elephant is holding a bouquet of forget-me-nots, which is a type of flower. And you can see on the right side, you see the flowers on the right side, but also on the lower left side, you can see some flowers that I sketched in there, and it's pretty dark gray. That's where I hadn't carved it yet. So I was saving that till the end because you can see there's lots of little details in there where those petals are. So on the next slide, you can see what it looks like after I carved it. So I went around with my little tool and I carved out all the areas I wanted to take out and kept the flower. So it's basically drawing with this sharp tool and carving everything out that I want to pick up the ink. And then here is my woodpecker when I was done carving. And you can see on the wings there, it's pretty dark gray. So that means when I do the ink on it, it will stay mainly black. But there's little details on the feathers there that will stay white because I carved them out. All right, and here's the next step, print. So you're either a carver or a printer. You know, people either like the carving part or they like the printing part where they get to use the brayer and spread all the ink over it and get all messy and put it onto the paper. So I'm a carver, but maybe you'll be a printer when you do it, or maybe you'll love them both the same, but usually people have a preference. So this is my setup. I have my my carving on the left, and remember it's just like kind of like a big stamp that I carved out. And on the right, I have my brayer. Remember that's this little guy that rolls the ink, and you use it to roll the ink onto your stamp. And then I have my spoon. All right, I have a Q&A. Oh, woodpecker, good job. Thank you. I didn't see that in the Q&A. Thank you, Alice. And then how long does it take you to carve? Caitlin asked. That's a great question, Caitlin. And I was wondering if you all were going to ask that. And I was trying to add up all the time it takes. If I work a couple hours on it every day, like if I work 2 hours every day, I can get it done in about 7 days or so. So it can take me about 10 to 15 hours to carve out all those details, just the carving part. So there's a lot of little details. I like to have all the little details, but you don't have to do that. You can keep it more simple and it won't take as much time. And you can even use a smaller block if you want to. So that's an awesome question. Okay, so that's one of my printing setups. And then here's another one. So this is my woodpecker. You can see I also have red on there. So the pileated woodpeckers have a really bright red mohawk and then red on their cheeks too. So I had to make 2 different linoleum plates, carve them, and then line them up perfectly when I printed them so that red would show through when I put the black on top of it. So that was pretty tricky, but it was a cool process. Okay, so I'm going to show you all a video. It's only about a minute long, and I sped it up and shortened it so you all could see the printing process. So I'm going to play the video, and here we go. So this is what happens after you have your carving and you're ready to put ink on it and put it onto the paper. All right, so let's press play. Okay, so I have my brayer. I'm taking my brayer and rolling the ink over it, over my woodpeckers. And you want to make sure you cover every part of the block. And yes, make sure you just get every part, every corner, every edge. Then I flip it over and try not to get my fingers on it. And you press it down to make sure it has good contact with the paper. Then you flip it and then you rub it in. And then this is where you use the spoon. So actually use the spoon to press the paper onto the linoleum. And this can take a couple minutes, and it's a workout, girls. It takes some arm strength to do this. It usually takes about 2 minutes of rubbing to get it on there. And then you carefully peel it off. And there you go. You got your print. And that's what the final product looks like. So that's the printing process. And usually it takes me a few times of doing that to get it how I want. That's the awesome thing about printmaking. You can take that stamp that you made and print it over and over and over again. You could probably do 100 or more prints from it. So that's what's awesome. You only have to make one carving, and then you can make 100 original pieces of art from that one carving and give them to your family and friends. And that's what I like to do. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. It's playing again. All right, this is my favorite part of the whole process. I mean, I have so many favorite parts. I love the carving, but the most exciting part is revealing it. So I showed you that in the previous video. When you peel off the paper, that's the revealing part, and it's so awesome to see what your art looks like. Oh, thank you, Alice. I think you guys could do amazing art too with printmaking. I just think they always turn out really cool. Like, I just love the way it looks. Like, I've never seen a bad print. It's just really fun, and it has a really like handmade, raw, unique, beautiful quality to it. So I hope you all do try this. Okay, so let's see what some of our art looks like after we've revealed it. All right, so this is my living room, and you know, you don't need to have a fancy studio to be an artist. You can use your living room, you can use your bedroom, you can use the kitchen table, which is what I used when I was printmaking. On the top picture there with my cuttlefish, that's my kitchen table with groceries on it. So you just have to make do with what space you have. And you can see on the other picture, the woodpeckers, I made dozens of prints just from that one carving I did. So that's what I love about printmaking. You can make an original piece of art relatively easily. So I'll go to the next slide and show you. And here's some other pieces I did. There's the elephant when it was done. And I also did a giraffe. So the giraffe I did in purple ink. So you don't have to just use black ink. I have turquoise ink, I have red, I have orange, I have all kinds of fun colors. So you don't have to just use a black, you can use any color, and you can use different color paper. So on the elephant, that's kind of like a greenish color. And then let's see what else I have. Okay, so here's the finished woodpecker with the red head, and then the cuttlefish. And you don't also have to print just on paper. So you can also print on like a kitchen towel. So I have it here with me. But you can use ink that's made for fabric, and you can print onto towels, onto t-shirts, onto tote bags, and give them away as gifts, or sell them even too. So use your imagination and use your block that you carved on a variety of mediums. It's really fun. So I'm excited to make more shirts and towels with my blocks. And then you don't have to just do towels and shirts. You can cut out your print. So one of my assignments in college was to cut out one of our prints and take it out into the world and take pictures with it. And I had so much fun with this. So this is another form of art. You know, you can combine printmaking and photography to make a whole new kind of art. So I had really a lot of fun with it. My friend's 7-year-old took the giraffe and put it inside of him, so it looks like he's wearing a Batman jacket. And then I put the giraffe in the honeysuckle, and it was just really fun. So don't let your imagination, let your imagination run wild, and don't be limited to just paper. Take it out and have fun with your art. So do I have any questions about the process or printmaking or anything like that? But if I don't, I can go into how you guys can make your own print at home. I made a video how you all can do your own printmaking using a styrofoam plate and washable markers. So I'm sure you guys probably have markers at home and styrofoam plate, and that's pretty much all you really need. So I'm excited to share that with you. And do you all have any questions? Anything? All right, so if there's no questions or anything in the chat, I will share that video. So let me go to that, and this is about 5 minutes long. So I'm going to open that. All right, so I hope you can see this video. And again, this is a way that you can try printmaking at home using everyday objects. So I'm going to start the video. I'm going to make sure that Okay, I want to make sure the sound was shared. Okay, let's hit play.
Hey Girl Scout friends, this is Carlin, and I'm going to teach you how to make a print at home using everyday objects. So earlier today you learned about linoleum block carving. So that's where you take the linoleum like this one and carve with a linoleum cutter to make your print. But in this activity, we're going to be using styrofoam, like a styrofoam plate, and a pencil instead of the linoleum cutter to carve our drawing into the plate, which we'll be printing from. So to get started, you'll need your styrofoam plate, or you can use a styrofoam tray and wash it, let it dry, and reuse it. That's an earth-friendly option. You'll need some washable markers. You'll need a damp sponge. You'll need some scissors. And then that pencil, you want to make sure it has a dull point. If it's too sharp, it'll poke through the styrofoam. And lastly, you'll need some paper. So let's get started. Okay, now you can get your styrofoam plate and some scissors, and you need to decide what shape you want your print to be. So it can be a square, a rectangle, a circle, whatever shape you want. It's easiest if you flip the plate over and pick out your shape on the back and cut it out from there. So for my print, I'm going to be using a square shape, but you can pick any size or shape that you want. Okay, so once you have your foam plate cut down to the size that you want, you can start drawing on the foam. So I took my pencil with the dull tip here and I pressed in a drawing. I pressed pretty hard so that you could really feel those indentions. So you should be able to make out your drawing with your eyes closed pretty well. So it's pretty deep in there, but not so deep that I didn't press through to the back. So you can retrace over what you drew. So I'm going to add a few more leaves here. See how I'm going over it a few times as I draw it in. And I decided to do a little dragonfly because I love to go canoeing at Land Between the Lakes, and seeing the dragonflies dance on the water beside me as I'm paddling is just one of my favorite things. So I thought it'd be fun to draw, but you can do whatever you want, whatever design. So I made a second example to show you if you do use words in your drawings that you will need to write them backwards, because when you print it makes a mirror image. So after you print your words, if you do write them backwards, they'll be written correctly left to right. So just keep that in mind if you use words in your design. Okay, so once you have your design carved into your styrofoam, grab those washable markers and get ready to add color. You'll want to work kind of quickly so the ink doesn't dry before you can get it onto the paper. You can color different shapes, different colors, or you can sketch the color across the whole plate. Either way, it'll look really awesome. You'll just want to work a little bit quickly so that ink doesn't dry on you before you print. Okay, so once you have your foam block colored in with the washable marker, you're going to take your sponge that's damp. You don't want it sopping wet, and you're just going to lightly get the paper wet. You want a nice glossy sheen on it, but you don't want it dripping wet. All right, so we're ready to print. So take your foam plate, flip it over, and put it on the paper. And press down. Make sure not to move your paper too much underneath the foam like that, because it could shift your foam and it won't line up. So just give it a nice massage on there. Make sure it's all relaxed. And another step you can do to take it further is put your hand on the back side and flip it over like this. That way you're massaging the side that has the marker on it, so you can get better contact between your styrofoam and your paper. When you think you've done a good job massaging your foam plate onto the damp paper, you can peel it off carefully to reveal your art. So take a corner and gently lift it off and turn it over, and look at that. You have your print. Okay, so let's see how my dragonfly turned out. Pretty cool. So here's my dragonfly print and my Girl Scouts rock print side by side. Okay, so here are my foam blocks and some of the prints I made from them. You can see with my dragonfly I have different colors. What I did was I washed off the foam plate in between these versions and just colored them in with different colored markers. So that's the great thing about printmaking. The blocks you can keep printing on, washing them off, and the markers are washable as well. So you can come up with endless combinations of prints. So thank you all so much for printing with me today, and I hope you all have fun making your own prints at home.
Okay. So I hope you all had fun watching that and you'll be inspired to make your own print. So I see we have a few things in here. Awesome. If everyone didn't see, we will post the video to this chat. Oh, awesome. So thank you, Ariane. If you want to watch that again, we'll have it on YouTube and you can follow along. But again, you just need scissors, a styrofoam plate, washable markers, a damp sponge, and paper. So it's really easy, and I'd love to see if you all do this project, we'd love to see your art. So send it to us at the Nature Station, and we would love to see it and maybe even feature it. So let me see if any other questions or anything else came in. All right. Okay. Oh, I see Alice asked if we're posting this video, and that was answered. Okay, so does anyone have any other questions for me or about art or making prints at your home or printmaking process, this is your time to answer any questions. So put them in the chat or the Q&A and I'll be happy to help. But you all have done an awesome job asking me questions. I've just been so thrilled to spend this afternoon with you and teach you a little bit about printmaking. And I hope you all try it someday, because I think you'd have a lot of fun with it. And maybe someday I'll get to come to the Nature Station and teach this in person so we could meet each other and we could all make prints together. I think that would be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, looks like that's about it then. Oh, Alice says thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Alice.
Yes, and that lines right in. Thank you so much, Carlin, for taking time to chat with us and help us out with our Girl Scout Day. I hope you girls have been having fun doing some of the activities that we gave you in your workbooks. There's a lot of options in there. So there's a lot of different ways to do art, nature, and oh, the sky's the limit with that stuff. So thank you, Carlin, for being here. Thank you, girls, for being here. Like Carlin just said, we're going to post the whole video to this webinar on our YouTube. I'm going to hopefully have that up in the next hour or two. Shouldn't take too long. And then that way you guys can show this to your Girl Scout troop, and they can, you know, if they wanted to learn more from Carlin, I will put my email in the YouTube description. That way, if you guys have any extra questions for her, I can make that happen. But other than that, thank you, Carlin. That was fascinating. I've never done printmaking, or I'm not sure I've ever seen it. So it was educational for me and the girls.
Awesome. I had so much fun with you all. I love Girl Scouts, and I was just so excited to be here and speak with you this afternoon. So keep it up. Keep being in Girl Scouts. It's so awesome and fun, and I hope to see you all someday at Land Between the Lakes, and we can make prints together. But in the meantime, if you do make prints, send them to Ariane. I'd love to see them. And if you have any questions, just reach out, and I'll be in touch. So thank you all again. You all were a lot of fun, and good luck with your badges.